The early 1990s. The motorcycle world was on fire. Behind closed doors, Japanese manufacturers were locked in an unspoken battle. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki. Each one determined to claim a single sacred title, the fastest production motorcycle on Earth. For years, the competition was fierce. But then, in 1990, something changed. From the shadows of Akashi, Japan, emerged a monster draped in Kawasaki green. It wasn't built just to win. It was built to dominate, to crush rivals under sheer speed and engineering brilliance. Its name? The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11. A motorcycle that didn't just raise the bar, it ripped it from the ground and rewrote history. To this day, it's remembered not as a bike, but as a legend. Black and white montages of 80s superbikes fade into color as the ZX-11 appears in dramatic slow motion. Subtle engine revs sync with an epic music buildup while bold text flashes across the screen. Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11, the Highway Queen. Section 1. The Birth of a Legend. By the late 1980s, Kawasaki had already stunned the world with machines like the GP-Z900R, the very bike that starred in Top Gun, and the ZX-10. These were fast, powerful, respected, and proof that Kawasaki was always willing to push boundaries. But motorcycling was entering a new phase, the hyperbike era, a class where limits didn't exist and speed became the ultimate weapon. Kawasaki's engineers were on a mission: create a motorcycle that left no room for doubt. Faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything that came before it. In 1990, their creation was unveiled: the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11, also called the ZZR-1100 in Europe. This machine wasn't just another sport bike. It was the first production motorcycle to shatter the 270 km/h barrier and creep dangerously close to 300 km/h. No one had ever witnessed performance like this on a road-legal machine. The ZX-11 didn't just enter the market, it redefined it completely, instantly claiming the crown as the world's fastest motorcycle. Quick flashes of motorcycle magazines from 1990 scream "World's Fastest." While vintage footage shows the ZX-11 tearing down highways, its exhaust howling to the sound of driving 90s rock. Section 2. Revolutionary technology. Speed alone wasn't enough to make the ZX-11 legendary. Its true genius was in its engineering. At its core was a 1052cc inline-4 engine producing 147 horsepower, a figure that at the time seemed almost impossible. But Kawasaki didn't stop there. They introduced a feature that had never been seen on a production motorcycle: the revolutionary Ram Air induction system. This system forced pressurized air into the engine at high speeds, giving the ZX-11 more power the faster it went. Imagine riding at 200 km/h, and instead of the bike straining, it suddenly felt stronger, like it had wings. That was Ram Air in action. The chassis was sculpted for absolute stability, the aerodynamics shaped to slice through wind like a missile. Official tests recorded a top speed of 283 km/h, making the ZX-11 not just a superbike, but a road-going fighter jet. It wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a guided missile with a license plate. De-animations of the Ram Air intake airflow and side-by-side comparisons with rivals like the Honda CBR-1000F and Suzuki GSX-R 1100 bring the story to life, set against futuristic, synth-heavy music. Section 3. 1990s domination. From 1990 until 1997, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11 ruled with an iron fist. No other production motorcycle on Earth could touch its speed or its commanding presence on the open road. For nearly a decade, it was untouchable, the undisputed queen of the highway, and the ultimate symbol of motorcycling dominance. But the ZX-11 wasn't just about raw numbers. What set it apart was its dual personality. On the open road, it was pure adrenaline, surging with unstoppable force. Yet at the same time, it offered comfort and reliability that few sport bikes of the era could match. Riders could travel across entire countries on the ZX-11, high-speed touring with the heart of a racer. A rare combination that made it truly unique. It earned the nickname the Highway Queen for good reason. It could dominate drag races and then carry its rider thousands of miles with ease, without losing its fierce edge. For 7 years, every rival who tried to dethrone it failed. Only in 1997 did Honda finally break Kawasaki's streak with the CBR 1100XX Super Blackbird. But by then, the ZX-11 had already written its name in history. firmly secured as one of the greatest motorcycles of all time. Vintage test ride clips show endless highways, leather-clad riders, and magazine headlines screaming, "World's fastest motorcycle," while guitar-driven music captures the adrenaline and freedom of the 90s. Section 4. The Immortal Legacy Even. After the crown passed to Honda, the Kawasaki ZX-11 never faded. Instead, it became something greater, a symbol. It was the motorcycle that defined the word hyperbike. Without the ZX-11, there would be no ZX-12R and no ZX-14R today. The DNA of Kawasaki's modern monsters can all be traced back to this single machine. It showed the world what was possible, and it forced every competitor to evolve. Decades later, enthusiasts still seek out the ZX-11, restoring them, collecting them, preserving them as rolling pieces of history. Ask any rider who lived through the 90s and they'll tell you, the ZX-11 wasn't just another bike. It was years ahead of its time, a perfect balance of reliability, performance, and engineering brilliance. More than 30 years on, it remains untouchable in its impact. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11 wasn't simply a motorcycle. It was the dawn of a new era. A legend that tore through limits and even today whispers one message: speed has no boundaries. Footage of restored ZX-11s gleaming under the sun fades into a timeline of its successors. ZX-11, ZX-12R, ZX-14R, each, two, a mix of nostalgic strings and subtle rock carries the emotion. Final reflection: in the motorcycle world, there are many fast machines, but very few become timeless legends. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-11 was one of them. It didn't just break records, it shattered every expectation of what a motorcycle could be. That is why, more than 3 decades later, the ZX-11 still carries the respect of riders worldwide. If you love the stories of legendary machines, make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and let us know in the comments, which motorcycle should we feature next? Until then, ride fast, ride safe, and remember, legends never die. The video closes with the ZX